Morning, everybody. It is 8:15 a.m. It is October 29th. Wow, 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 wow. This market. Wow. I mean, talk about going higher. This is crazy. Like Microsoft with OpenAI yesterday, NVDA and Qualcomm with their news the other day. AMD's flying again. Semis are up over 1.5% this morning. It's like it's so crazy because everything keeps getting announced, and it's just like yesterday you had a little bit of a break below the previous day's close, and then all of a sudden Jensen Huang talking, and Nvidia just starts crushing it. So right now Nvidia's up almost 3.5% pre-market. This is this can keep going because the momentum is there. However, this is not good structure at all in the market. It's just not, you know, gaps, and this is very euphoric. Yeah, I'm not going to call a top at all because nobody knows when that's going to happen. But it's pretty insane. It really is. It's pretty impressive, to be honest. So it's just the rotations are happening, and we really never got. Like, besides, we did get that day where Trump mentioned those curbs in China, where we really did pull back, but that was for a day. So you didn't get that nice like week of weakness or something. You got the volatility, but we really didn't, because you could claim that it was the weakness. But now we're coming into earnings season. Today is just FOMC. We have major earnings after the close today. Major earnings. And now, I mean, portfolio and fund managers have to, if they're not in equities, they're going to have to load up their portfolios. We're coming into a seasonally bullish time of the market. So, kind of crazy. It's really like, I mean, not to say that I haven't seen stuff like this before, but it is kind of crazy. It is. All right. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. How come up with game plans. All right. Also use Anchor VWAPs. Anchor them into a period of time and find out who's in control. Market internals lets me see who's in control and what the market's capable of once the market opens. Bookmap helps me out with my futures trades, execute, all right, with order flow. And then we also have my weekly expected move. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a little bit because the QQQ basically hit it yesterday. So that's one thing that I would say that has my eye, where the QQQ hit its expected move to the upside yesterday. I don't know if it did it to the penny. We'll get into there, but it claimed pretty close. Yeah, it's like a 80 cents shy yesterday, but it's over it now. So that's where, not saying you can't go over it, not saying you can't go over it, but that's where it gets a little. All right, let's see here. We got some stocks too over their expected moves. NVIDIA. So those are who else? Tesla almost hit it. Just trying to see who else. Actually, Berkshire Hathaway hit its expected move to the downside, believe it or not. So pretty now, a reason why a lot of them are not hitting the expected moves is because of the earnings. Now, Microsoft, interestingly enough, um, expected move to the up is 562 because of earnings. So obviously the rages are bigger when I run my script. Whenever you have earnings, the IVs goes up. So otherwise, if it was a normal week, they probably had a lot more stocks hitting expected moves. Okay. Now, hopefully, yeah, everybody joins me every morning, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, give you a bunch of technical analysis. Hopefully, I could be your morning coffee, all right, and let you know what the market's doing, why the market's doing what it's doing. Okay, so join me. All right, now, if you want more in depth, you're gonna join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Click on the YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. What are you waiting for? Now, the last couple days have been, for me, horrendous. Like the way the market's been trading. Now, don't get me wrong, that meteoric liftoff yesterday started at like 12:30, and had a big, let me see, make sure that's right. Yeah, around 12:30, big spike in a candle, and then it kind of lifted off about 2 o'clock. I mean, I'm pretty much like the way the market was moving, it died yesterday. All right, right around here, this is SPX, but look, right in here, came down, and this was hard. I was like, this, what is this? This was just a barcode. And then it did this, and I guess around 11:45, you could have possibly, when it filled the gap and held, that could have been a long. I'm not going to say it couldn't have been. And then you died from like, let's say 12:40 all the way to about 1:40, about an hour here, and then lifted off and then dumped into the close. So not a market that's got a lot of edge for me. I'm being honest, this is like a very frustrating week. Okay. So that's why in my Discord, I'm like, what am I doing here? You know, like in my Discord, I haven't been posting a lot, right? Just because there's no edge for me. And so I'm being transparent, saying I'm looking at options trades and stuff like that because the order flow, the everything, the volume's low. Like, I mean, volume's low. Not as low as yesterday's, but it's still kind of relatively low today. And we have FOMC today. We have earnings, huge earnings after the close. So the market's it's kind of weird. I mean, don't get me wrong. Could I have took a stab at a long? Yeah, but I'm just saying that pretty much not a lot of edge. When you see that market move the way it does, I just know from experience that it's like I don't want to trade that. I don't want to sit there and force setups on a market that's not giving me the opportunities that you normally see. Okay, so still, I'm gonna update now. Hopefully today, again, FOMC is today, so in the morning of FOMC, there might be an opportunity. There might be, possibly, but sometimes you die after like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Then the market dies waiting for FOMC. Now who knows? Something can come up before that. I don't know. Okay, but still, sign up and join. I'm still giving you options trades. Now, one thing that I wanna talk about real quick is this. What I posted the other day, right here. And again, no one's really asking questions about this, but I still think this is pretty cool. Okay, so check out this. I just want to show you. This is called the back spread, and you put a back spread on. Okay, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I just want to just show you the power of options. Okay, if we go to this trade that I originally put on, right? So this particular trade, right here, when I put this on, right? Look at the cost of that trade, right? 26 cents. $26 for one contract, right? Which is $52 of risk. All in, I paid $52. See? 52 debit right here, right? Well, I wind off because with this type of trade, you want a quick move. Okay? Quick move. I took it off for 90 cents, right? Pretty good return, right? Well, the other day, I posted here and I said, check that out. It's trading for $2.48 now. Same trade. You can see it right here. That's the same trade if I would have took it off now, right? Now, let's go to today or yesterday because it's only going to do the yesterday's close, right? So I want to show you in my account the craziness of this, okay? I'm going to show you where that spread is now. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, here it is. All right, I want to show you that. It's insane. All right, so I'm going to bring you right over to my Tasty Trade right here. It's trading for $8. $8. Now, in a back spread, your profit potential is unlimited. There is no cap. Okay? $8 it's trading for right now. So let's say I took one off and I said, let me add a flyer. For 26 cents, the spread is $8 right now. It's going to be more when the market opens. So you can see I had a long call at 676. The SPY is currently at 688 when I put it on. That is insane. 26 cents for $8. 26 cents. Insanity. Insanity. I just wanted to share that with you guys. All right. I think that's unbelievable. Right. Now, with that trade, if I didn't have ultimate balance in the way, that's the reason why I took that off. And I got the nice 90 credit, right, for 26 cents. Now, that's not a bad return. Is because I wasn't sure if there was that big thing in the way. And then we just exploded. But that's the reason you put those types of spreads on. And that's just the power of a back spread. 26 cents and it's to $8 right now. Crazy. All right, crazy. Now, that being said, let's get right into futures watch list. I don't want to keep you guys. So, you have metals getting back into it. Yeah, good morning, Chief. Yeah, 26 cents. 26 bucks. It's at $8 right now. Now, crazy. That's crazy. All right. That's the power of options that people really don't know about, right? A back spread when you're expecting a big move and you don't have to lay out a lot of debit, right? So, let's look at this market. Now, what's happening now is, are the metals getting the pullback? Maybe. Silver's up 2.19%. Gold's back over 4,000. Okay. I did put a trade on yesterday, a back spread in a GDX, which is a gold junior miner ETF. It doesn't move. I probably should have used NEM, be honest with you. It didn't make sense with the spread, even though I know that call I would have been in, it would have been up, but it's not the right spread. Gold NQ up 0.39. Dollar is up now. Dollar is up. Interesting. The dollar is up and gold and silver are up. Okay. ES up 0.23. 10-year yield up 0.23. The Dow is up 0.15. VIX is pretty much flat. Russell is pretty much flat. 30-year bonds being sold. Crude down 0.18. Bitcoin's down 0.55. Ethereum down 0.79. Now, this is muted besides metals because FOMC today. All right, let's move over to the Mag 7 Plus in this beast of NVIDIA. I mean, I'm glad I own NVIDIA. I wish I owned more of it. But obviously, I'm not hating that I own it. It's almost at 208, folks. Over its expected move for the week. Almost up 3.5%. AMD is another one I own. Own more of AMD. AMD is just unbelievable. This thing was at like $70, 70 something dollars, not too long ago. Okay, it's at $262 a share right now. It's crazy. I'm actually gonna probably trim this back in my portfolio today, just based on how we're moving up, 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 up. I can see a nice, somewhat of a pullback or something happening, because that's getting mighty a decent size in my portfolio. So I might trim that back today. Tesla up 0.91, Eli Lilly up 0.45. Now let's look if there's any laggards here. Berkshire Hathaway. Remember I told you Berkshire Hathaway broke. It's expected to move to the downside. All right, that stock's been coiling for a long time. Okay, Boeing reported earnings. They're basically kind of flat, but down 0.71. All right, now let's look at some top sectors here. This is the Caterpillar had earnings. They're up 5.45%. NEM, I almost put something on it yesterday. And of course, this is just the way my trading's been going lately. I look at something, I actually had something in GDX, and I thought about NEM to go, you know what, along in that might make sense. And it's up 2.29% today. Right? Uber's up 1.38, Palantir's up 0.75, GE Vernova up 0.70. Now, they took a dive yesterday. Utilities, like VST. I noticed that when Jensen Huang was talking, he mentioned quantum computing, and that Rigetti and IonQ took a nosedive. Now, and I noticed some utility stocks yesterday: GE Vernova, VST, some data center build out stuff like that took a little bit of a dive yesterday. Now look who's at the bottom of the list here. Visa had earnings. Interesting that they're not up. And Visa's been consolidating. All right, PepsiCo's down to 149, 148. I own that as well. I have covered calls on that. So at 160, so the covered calls are giving me some nice, a nice rent free in that stock. It's always nice to have covered calls. That's PepsiCo. Now we're going to go to a little granular list here. Lucid is up 6.13%. Western Digital, that's your hard drives, up 4.87. Verizon up 4.4%. CVS had decent earnings, up 3.41. Oh, look at that. I own CVS at one point at $60 a share. It's at 85. Unbelievable. Micron up 3.32. Gold Junior Miners. Unbelievable. Up to almost 3%. Now, interesting that the GDX is not in there. Maybe I don't have it in there. GDX up 2%. I was in that trade yesterday. Unbelievable. What else here? All right, we're going to move on to laggards. Let's see who's lagging today. Enphase, they reported earnings. Must have not been good. Down 10.8%. 10.87%. Garmin, that's like GPS, I believe, down 9.32. Fiserv down 3.38. And ADP down 2%. Warner Brothers down 1%. All right, that's what's going on with those granular lists here. We'll move back to sectors. And of course, who's leading the pack? Semiconductors up almost 1.5%, followed by technology up 0.76, followed by utilities. Who's on the bottom here? Real estate, staples, financials. Interesting. Financials. That's your Berkshire Hathaway, your JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, okay? And your Visa. Now, MasterCard, I don't have in that list, but MasterCard probably within sympathy might be down. All right? So, let's go to economic calendar here because we got some big stuff on top here. So, 30-year mortgage went down 0.04 from the previous. Okay. Pending home sales we have at 10 a.m. That doesn't really move markets much. 10:30 a.m. we have EIA crude inventories. Then the big one at 2 p.m. the Fed FOMC. Everybody's expecting a quarter point cut. All right, followed by the press conference. So get ready for volatility at 2 p.m. I don't really care about that too much. at all. It's no edge for me in that. And I'm usually not even watching the market at this point. I've learned I don't if I don't have an edge, it's to me it's otherwise. I might as well just go to Atlantic City and start gambling for myself, right? The move usually happens the next day, and then you can trade off of that. All right. Now let's look at the juice. Let's see what the juice has for us as far as the schedule for today. We have, let's see here. Obviously, we have earnings, so we'll get into them in a sec. Let's see what the risk they're saying is. So let's see. Technology stocks keep driving global equities higher as hopes for a breakthrough by NVDA in China reinforce optimism about artificial intelligence ahead of a likely FOMC rate cut. China, Xi to meet Trump October 30th, tomorrow. Imagine what they can tell us there and juice the markets more, right? All right, let's look at the earnings because it's really, really, really big day in earnings. Okay. So before the open, Verizon, Boeing, CVS, Caterpillar, Fiserv, Etsy, Kraft Heinz, ADP, all reported. Now, after the close, that was Enphase, Booking Holdings, Seagate, Visa, EA, Electronic Arts, Cheesecake Factory. That was all yesterday at the close. Today, after the close, Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, Google, right? Chipotle, Carvana, ServiceNow, Mercado Libre, Starbucks, all after the close. Huge. Tomorrow, Amazon, Apple, Coinbase. 2 days of monster earnings. Okay. Now, stock news. NVIDIA stock rose 3.8% after U.S. President Donald Trump said he plans to discuss the company's Blackwell artificial intelligence processors with Chinese leader Xi. Okay, fueling speculation that Washington could ease restrictions on chip exports to China. Verizon stock rose 3.3% after the telecom giant beat estimates for quarterly profit. Caterpillar stock gained 4.4% after the heavy equipment manufacturer reported better than expected third quarter results, with sales helped by resilient demand across its business segments. CVS Health stock rose 1.2% after the pharmacy chain lifted its annual profit outlook, but flagged a $5.7 billion charge linked to an impairment test, which showed that the fair value of its struggling healthcare delivery division was below its carrying value. Kraft Heinz stock fell 1.5% after the packaged food giant lowered its annual sales and profit forecast. GE Healthcare stock rose 0.7% after the medical device maker reported third quarter earnings broadly in line with expectations. Etsy stock fell 9%. Wow. After the online marketplace detailed that active buyers and sellers declined in the third quarter. Fiserv stock plummeted 29% after the payments and financial technology provider reported third quarter earnings that significantly missed expectations. Right. Let's look at more news. NVIDIA nears record $5 trillion valuation as AI boom powers meteoric rise. Apple poised for iPhone sales boost on strong Pro demand. Fed in a fog as it heads towards another rate cut. Big oil earnings expected to edge up as analysts eye 2026 outlook. Global firms slash jobs amid weak sentiment AI push. Let's look here. It says, look, see, while gold, right here it says, China on track to sign a deal in commodities. Oil prices climbed amid a drop in U.S. crude inventories and improving U.S.-China sentiment, while gold rebounded after touching a 3-week low in the prior session. I don't want to repeat anything, so it says NVIDIA and Palantir Tech announced a deal in which Palantir will tap NVIDIA's chips and software to help its customers speed up decision making in complex fields such as logistics. Interesting. Just checking out more news. So Visa narrowly beat estimates for fourth quarter profit and gave an upbeat forecast for its new fiscal year as strong consumer spending in the U.S. drove card transaction volumes on the payments processing company network. And that right now, Visa is currently down 0.71%. Okay. Cheesecake Factory, Jeffrey cut target price to 70 from 74, highlighting softer same-store sales and weaker casual dining demand, with near-term pressure from cautious consumer spending and unfavorable holiday shifts. Lyft Roth MKM raised its target price to 25 from 19, citing upward estimate revisions driven by strong execution. Mondelez International, Jeffrey cuts target price to 70 from 74 due to softer volumes from pricing sensitivity and value-seeking behaviors. All right. And let's look at some upgrades, downgrades. We have Skyworks upgrade. Bunch of upgrades for Skyworks. All right. Downgrades. Nokia got a downgrade. United Healthcare got a downgrade. All right. Moving on. Moving on. I mean, I showed you this before, but we'll just go over market internals real quick from yesterday. All right, so yesterday, tech was green, financials was red. Okay, I want to show you something here about this market, and this is basically very easy to understand, I think. Okay, now remember, the weightings are all up on these sector boxes, right? XLK is almost 35% of the market cap of the S&P 500. 35%. The market goes where tech goes. 35% of the market cap. The next biggest is financials at basically 14. But 35%. Almost 11% in consumer discretionary. Now, consumer discretionary, that's your Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot. Okay. McDonald's is discretionary. Infotech is your Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle. Okay. Oracle, Broadcom. Communications, that's your Meta, Google, Netflix. Okay. That's 10%. But look at healthcare. Look at industrials. Look at staples. Energy and utilities also was weak yesterday. Look at the equal weight. So this is how you know how our markets move. Check this out. Look at where we started to push up, right? Look at these bars represent these weights up here. Okay, that's what's beautiful about the weighted AD indicator. Okay, I call the overall window internals, but the bars are the way our markets move based on market cap, right? So look at the market cap pushing up and look at the equal weight going lower and lower and lower and lower. And look at the market still rising because market cap is what moves our markets. Technology was moving. NVIDIA was crushing it. That's where this equal weight is good to have because it shows you the overall markets if they did have no weights, right? But this is how our market moves. Now, that is a little worrisome because as soon as technology has one day that could be red and the equal weight is red, we're going to fall, right? Because what we're doing now is thinning out volume at the top of this range, and that's what could happen. Now, if you want to look at, let's look at some, like, these are all based on the previous day's closes, right? So this is all red, right? These are all red. Now, these are nothing really super bearish, but these are red, and all that matters is tech was green. Crazy. They say, like the Mag 7, 7 stocks move our market. 493 almost don't matter. That is crazy. But that's the market we have. Now, the Dow is a price weighted index. So whoever has the highest price is the largest holding. Very different. Very different. Okay? That's your market internals. Okay? This is where, that is not easy to look at this and go, okay, I think we're going to rock it up. Now, don't get me wrong. When tech's strong, you most likely want to get long. I know that rhymes. Okay? Now, I don't really think there's much to really talk about in the hourly chart still. I mean, we're consolidating here. So, We don't really need to get into that, I don't believe, okay? We are going to get into daily charts. Let's do that. I kind of skipped over that. So let's do that. We did break this trend channel. Now I want to show you, let's see if I can, you can see the expected move here. What I'm going to do is bring this down. Okay. So that's the SPY's expected move from my script from the options market on last Friday. 691.94. We're at 688 and 50 right now. We're right here. Okay. Interesting. Why is that showing up as last month? It's not even the next month yet. Interesting. I don't know why that's showing that. Oh, that's why. So I was getting confused because I have these previous monthly, because once you expand this, that's what I don't like to expand this timeline. It doesn't show you the current week. Like I like zero expansion. So let's go back to that. So now we don't have last month's highs and up there. I just see last week's highs. Okay. So I mean, not much to talk about. We're just bullish. Momentum is insane, right? Let's look at futures to give us a better look. Okay. So in futures, you can just see lower highs, higher lows, higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? Last week's highs. We continue to push higher. Obviously, we're going to have a day where we either we move sideways or we get a little pullback. Not a crash, not an all-out bear thing. Just that's going to happen. It will. All right. Now, when do we know that's going to happen? Who knows? Let's go to the Qs. The Qs broke out of this channel. Okay. And look where it went. Good old expected move. Almost went there. So this makes me a little Now we do have FOMC. That usually is a little red flag of we're running out of room to the upside. This is what was priced into the options market last Friday. We are there. Okay. We are right now at 635. We are above the week expected move. That is one little red flag. It doesn't mean we can't move higher. It just means that 70% of the time we do not. I like the edge in that. Okay. I like the edge in that. Let's look at futures. Here's our futures. You see the lower high, lower high, lower high. Am I saying that wrong? Higher low. Jesus. Higher low, higher low, higher low. I don't know why sometimes I say the opposite. But yeah, higher low, higher low, higher low. There's last week's highs. There's the gap. Right? And it's just all momentum on the bull side. I mean, in OpenAI partnerships, Jensen Huang speaking, right? China and U.S. saying we're going to make a deal is all juicing these markets up. We know we're getting a cut today. But see, the market knows about that already. So I don't know. I mean, it's an all, I mean, I'm going to say my portfolio is looking nice. I'm not going to complain. I'm not taking, have I taken a futures trade this week? No. It's Wednesday and I have not taken a futures trade, which sucks. But, you know, the old me, that when I would trade, I would like look at this market and say there's got to be an opportunity. I would probably have been forcing trades. But now I know, like, why am I going to trade that? That's just a little, I guess, more veteran in me. Is just like, why am I going to trade that? It doesn't make sense. I don't want to. I don't want to trade that. You know, I don't have to do something every day. And I'm getting more and more at peace with that. When it's just like, all right, why would I trade that? Doesn't make sense, right? All right, so that's your Nasdaq futures. All right, that's your Nasdaq futures. Now, remember what I said about the RSP or the equal weight in my internal window? Let's check out RSP yesterday. This will show what I'm talking about. Look at that day yesterday in RSP. Isn't that crazy? So this is our market, right? As if all stocks were equal. This is our market yesterday. Do you see that? That's the equal weight in my little internals window. That's this window here, that white line. Okay, that's what the RSP basically represents right there. Okay, so when I talk about that, just think of RSP, and that's what the equal weight did yesterday. That is not a strong day in the market. Now remember, that doesn't matter because the market doesn't move by equal weight. But this just shows you, oh, market wasn't that strong in the equal weight, right? Look at the NYSE, right? Look what it did yesterday. Another red day. It closed below the lows of the previous day. Interesting, right? But our market looks like it's going high, right? Kind of crazy. The only thing that's going to look okay is probably the composite, the NASDAQ composite. That does, right? It's got 3,500 stocks in it, and it's moving like the NASDAQ futures, even though this has like 3,500 stocks in it. It's very tech based, the NASDAQ exchange. Okay, but isn't that something? Now, if we're going to go to the stocks over the 50-day simple moving average, it's a nice little breadth indicator. Look at that. We're down to 46% of stocks in the whole S&P 500. Just think about that. Our markets are hitting all-time highs, and only 47%, let's say, of stocks are over their 50-day moving average. Is that something? 47%. So that's how you know AI, tech. Remember I said it's 35% of our market cap, and we're pushing all-time highs, all-time highs, all-time highs, but the rest of the market is not looking the best, right? Now, one day or another, when tech goes, okay, maybe this bubble pops a little bit, it's crazy, right? And then we look at something like the MAGs. This is like the MAG 7 ETF. It's probably going to look very similar to the Qs, right? Right here. Boom. See that? This is just the MAG 7. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Right? That kind of looks more or less like the Qs. Like here's Qs again. Right? And the SPY is moving because, of course, the XLK is heavily weighted, 35%, right? It's just not going to look as strong, right? Because you go back to the Qs, right? So that's our market. So, like, not the best breadth of the market. It's not. But that's not how our market moves, right? All right. Hourly charts, I'm going to skip. There's nothing there. Nothing there. Okay. We're going to go right into the market profile, line profile. I'm hoping there's something that I can look at to trade today. It's really been tough to just sit here and go, all right, I guess I'm not trading. You know, I don't really like to say that, but I know in the long term that is just a smart way to look at markets. Not every day is an opportunity. It's just not for myself, the way I trade. Okay? So, let's look at this. This is your market profile, line profile analysis here. All right, so let's look at this. All right, so we were gapping up, but we're not anymore. All right, now we do have some levels to talk about today. We do have some levels. All right, the most traded price of the week has moved up, so that is bullish. That level is 69.08 now, folks. 69.08 is now your most traded price of the rolling week. So the market has established some value up here. So that is bullish. Okay. Now, what levels do we have to talk about? Now, what do I'm seeing here? All right, one little edge, and I think it's a pretty big one. Okay, is we opened here. Notice the close is right here. We are 100% net long in the overnight. Okay, and you have this poor looking profile here. Only two TPOs right here. I'll show you when I break it out. But this is begging to get broke. You have the current price in the upper third portion of the overnight. Now, if we're just going to look at this, if I bought here, I'm getting paid, right? Higher low, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low. Right? If you keep just trailing stops, higher lows, you're getting paid. Now, I don't want to see this move too much lower. I'd rather see it up here because that is a little edge, a little feather in the cap. So if we do one of these, we can find ourselves back here and maybe take it out. And this isn't bearish. It's just how the market works. Okay, so that is a feather in the cap for a little correction. 100% net long and higher lows. It's a little recipe to people to take some off the table. Okay. Now, that level is very important, right? Because we have demand zone here. We have overnight lows. We have the close. And this demand zone. That is a very important area. Bulls want to defend that area. If they do, you go long. It's that simple. It's that simple. Okay. You do have this little area here where it's your overnight highs and your RTH highs from yesterday. Right here. Okay. And I would say to keep this momentum in check, you have a big demand zone here. And this demand zone encapsulates a lot of areas. What do we have here? Value area low from yesterday. Previous day's highs. Right? Also, you have the 69.08s, which is your most traded price of the week. It happens to be where the week-to-date anchor VWAP is as well. So this, as far as, let's say, a macro, a little more, would be where, ooh, okay, you get a pullback, this could be a big buy and a pullback to go higher. Okay? This is the layout for today. I'm kind of like, it's the first day where I'm like, oh, this is kind of, even though we have FOMC, I kind of like the way this looks. Gives me more of a game plan to go, all right, cool. All right, cool. Right? And let's get right into scenarios now. This is today. I actually like today. We're going to start off with who's in control, and that is the Bulls. Okay? So, remember what I said, 100% net long. 100% net long. That is a feather in the cap. Okay? So, what could I see happening? Let's break the overnight highs. And then you get a quick move. Now, this level, 69.40, is the most traded price of the overnight. If we push through that, we're going to test this overnight low in the most traded price of yesterday, 69.25s. You want the bulls to defend this. If you do, boom, retest. That's a long. And we're going to push. Now, one more that what I would say could happen. The 69.40s. If the market's still strong, euphoric, we go up, we could definitely pull back, but right to the 69.40 and bounce. Now, for me, I like to see internals be pretty strong, like strong to neutral, in order to see if that trade is worth it. Okay? Now, you could get a bear trap. Bear trap would look something like this. You push through the 69.40s. you break the overnight lows and the most traded price of yesterday. This should cause a tail. Okay, now that tail might meet the next demand, and then you go retest this, and that's a long. That's your bear trap. I really want to see how it reacts to this area. Now, if we come down quick, market doesn't get a chance to get that weak, recover, that's a long. This is your barometer, though. That's 69.24s. Does it break, and do we hold underneath it? If we spend time here, then that's a little more bearish. Okay. Now, for a macro, these are my favorite for longs. Now, if we do fall into that price, the 69.08s, that's the most traded price of the week, rolling week. Obviously, we take this out, hit some single prints. We can retest and possibly get a bounce up. I'm not saying I'm looking at that for a long. I'm just saying that's might be what happened. People might take this as a buy to dip. Okay, that's longs. Shorts. Let's talk about them. Okay, now we know we're 100% net long right now. We know longs are getting paid. So this is where the edge comes in. I would love for this market to push up here. We open up here with a little gap. Get some lower highs here. And get a chance to test the 69.40s, which is your most traded price lead overnight. If you take that out, I could almost, I wouldn't say guarantee, but pretty good certainty we're going to test 69.25 is the most traded price yesterday and this overnight low. You probably, I would think, get a tail. You break this, whoop, and you get the test into this demand. Now you might bounce, and that could be it. Ultimate target would be 69.08s. This could be the end of the road. Now, if you break that and take out these singles and you start to find acceptance down here, there's a lot of demand here. Okay. Now, for the market to do this and to continue to do this, the market would have to continually be getting weaker. If the market is not super weak like in internals, it won't have the legs to go lower. But if there's panic, you can really get going. Maybe test the top of this gap, 68.77. The whole thing below this is a gap. It's a void. And you could really get cooking. Okay? That's the ES. Now, like I said, we have FOMC, so I don't have a lot of room for analysis today because if it doesn't happen from like 9:40 to 10, I might look to 10:30, and then 10:30, I might be like, FOMC's coming, right? But I've seen it before where before FOMC we sell off or we go up, and then there's a de-risk trade. Okay, so let's go over to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is actually gapping up. Remember, it's relatively stronger. It's relatively stronger. Okay, so we have a gap up in our NASDAQ. So gap fills 26232. You actually have pretty much a poor high from yesterday's highs. That's not a proper tail. So that is our gap fill. And that happens to be the 50% retracement of the overnight. So that's a pretty decent level there. It's a pretty decent level. Okay. Now we have all-time highs up here in the overnights, right? We had this little bit of a thin volume here. Okay. We also are 100% net long. Okay. So what level is important here is your overnight lows. That's your 26155s. You have a demand zone here. Okay. Demand zone. Now, remember I said 100% not long. We're at the upper third of the overnight session. Longs are getting paid. Boom, 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 boom. This is ripe for a correction. Now we do have a supply zone up here. Oop, that's not a good supply zone. Okay. And we have a good, right here, demand zone with yesterday's lows. Believe it or not, the most traded price of yesterday is down here. That's how fast this was moving up. Didn't even get a chance to bring the VPOC up higher. Okay. Now, our little midpoint of yesterday, our 50% Fibonacci of yesterday is 2611, 1950, right there. So let's get into scenarios. Let's break this out of the overnights. And let's do it and get you guys out of here. All right, bulls are in control. Okay. So our most traded price of the overnight is, it's important. It's important. Let's see here. 26260s. All right. So 26260 is your most traded price of the overnight. So just like in the ES, if we boom, go up and we get that correction, you want to see what it does with those 26250s. I'm sorry, 265260s, I think. Hold on. Yeah, 26260s. Okay. You want to see what the market does with that. If it holds it, that's a long, and you go higher. Okay. Now, if we go through the overnight VPOC, you're going to test the fill the gap 26230s right here. The gap fill. You could also, that could be a buy point. All right. Now, through that level and see this little support at 26221s right here. You have thin volume here. We're going to take that out and you're going to move into this demand. Now, this is your big chance here, right here at the 26155's overnight lows, right? 100% net longs in the overnight. Value area high from yesterday, right? So you just want to see this get defended and then you go long. This is your last line right here. Below here, there could be a bear trap like this and you do this. You might even hit the 50% Fibonacci 26119 here. That's still a long. But time spent below here is not bullish. Okay? Is not bullish. Now, notice the most traded price of the week is not even up here yet. That's how fast moving the NASDAQ has been. It hasn't able to establish value up here yet. Okay? That's very important. Okay. Bear side. Bear side, boom. Okay. Remember, 100% net long, that's the feather in the cap. We're up at the top of the session, feather in the cap. So let's get a higher move up, get a nice nasty wick down, put in a lower high, and let's see if we tag the 26260s. Overnight trading, overnight VPOC. That's a good trade in itself. If we take that out, our next move is to the 26221s. We break that, you got that skinny volume here. We're going to test the overnight lows, 26155s, and yesterday's close. If the market from here is just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, you're going to push, okay, into this demand zone and into the most traded price of yesterday. That price is 26040. Now, we'll probably hit and try to fill this gap, 25981s. You're probably bouncing here. Unless this market is an all-out panic and it's like, what the heck's going on? Remember, this is before FOMC, so I would think you get something like that. But that's a decent trade. Remember, anything in here, there's a lot of demand in here. It's probably a buyable before FOMC. Okay? That's it, folks, for me today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Smash the like button if you like that analysis. That would be much appreciated. Okay. Now, hopefully you join me every morning. I give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, a bunch of technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios. Make me your morning cup of coffee or tea, whatever you like to drink, your morning podcast, as my friend Rosa likes to call me. Please join me. All right. Now, if you like more in-depth coverage, and hopefully I have something to sink my teeth into today, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to the my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I will not steer you wrong. Okay? Even this week, you could use me as an indicator, right? That I'm not very interested in the way the futures market are trading, right? And I know that's not sexy to be like, oh, what is he doing? He doesn't even want to trade this market. Well, I don't want to trade crap, right? That's an indicator on its own. I'm not going to force myself on the market just to say I trade it. Okay? I've traded stuff like this before and gotten like ripped up. And it just doesn't make sense. Market's here every day. There's always an opportunity. Hopefully there's an opportunity today. Okay? So, everybody, with that said, hope everybody has a great day. Stay green. Remember, no trade's a trade. And if I see you in my Discord, I see you. If I don't, I see you tomorrow morning. All right? Hopefully there's something to talk about today. All right? Well, there was always something to talk about, but talking about more like a futures trade or something. All right?